أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ثم الصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وأصحابه الأخيار أما بعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. We pick from our next step, which is from صاد والمضارع ما كان في أوله إحدى الزوائد الأربع يجمعها قولك أنيت. That is, we've talked about, I think, فعل ماضي, and then we talked about فعل أمر just in the previous lesson, and then here we are talking about الفعل المضارع. So, and in the أجرمية, Imam Ajurrum says والمضارع, and the present tense verb ما كان في أوله, that which has at its beginning as a prefix إحدى الزوائد الأربع يجمعها, it has as a prefix one of the four zawaid, additional letters. يجمعها قولك, which can be put together in your saying. If you should say أنيت, if you say أنيت, all these four letters that are called حروف المضارع, you've put them together in a word. أنيت, you have alif or hamza, then you have nun, you have yai, you have ta'u. And these, they come as zawaid. They come as harf zaida. So you will have it precede a letter, a verb, and then it means the verb is in the present tense. And anaitu is from ana, ay at-tamahul, to slow down. Say anaitu, I slowed down, I took my time. So if you say anaitu, you've gathered all the four letters, all the huruf al-mudari'ah in one word. Okay, it says al-mudari'u lahu alamatun muttasilatun. The present tense verb has some alamat, some signs that are muttasila, they are attached to it. Wa alamatun munfasila, and some signs are also separate. So some of the signs are something outside the word itself, and some of the signs are just in the present tense itself, it's attached to it. Al-alamatul munfasila, he begins with the alama munfasila, the separated sign. So you look at the sign outside the word and you realize that, oh, this word is a present tense verb. Like we have with the prepositions and nouns. Among the signs of nouns is that it is preceded by a preposition. So you will be reading and you see fi, then you know you are going to mention a noun. You get it? So this fi is a sign munfasilatun anil ism. It is not in the ism itself. It is a word on its own, but it directs us to the other word that is coming is a noun. Same thing here when we say al-alamatul munfasila, means it is a separate word that serves as a sign to tell us that that which is coming is a present tense verb. And this alama munfasila is what? Lam. I did not. فَكُلُّ كَلِمَةٍ تَقْبَلُ لَمْ. Every word that accepts lam, فَهِيَ مُضَارِعٌ, it is present tense verb. قال ابن مالك, Ibn Malik has said, I like the way he merges the alfiya with the ajrumiya. So when you should live here and you are going into alfiya, you find it a very good and smooth flow. You move into it easily. Okay. Ibn Malik has said in his alfiya, he says, وَفِعِلٌ مُضَارِعٌ يَلِي لَمْ كَيَشَمْ. So what this bait means is that fi'l mudari, it comes after lam, yali lam, like yasham. So what he's saying is that fi'l mudari, example of it, ay mithlu lam yasham, from shamma yashummu, to smell. So وَفِعِلٌ مُضَارِعٌ يَلِي لَمْ كَيَشَمْ, ay fi'l mudari mithlu lam yasham. So a word that comes after lam is mudari. And he says, فَكُلُّ كَلِمَةٍ تَقْبَلُ لَمْ. Each word that as any word that accepts lam, فَهِيَ فِعْلٌ مُضَارِعٌ, it is present tense verb. إِذَا قُلْنَا, if you should say يَقُومُ تَقْبَلُ لَمْ. يَقُومُ accepts lam. لَمْ يَقُمْ, he did not stand up. قَامَ, he stood up. if you put it in the past tense comma, لا يقبل فليس مضارعا, it does not accept لم. You can't say لم قام. لا يجوز. وهناك علامة متصلة, and there is also a sign that is attached to the present tense verb itself that makes you know that this is a present tense verb. يقول المؤلف فيها, in this sign, this is where the author says ما كان في أوله إحدى الزوائد. This is why he said ما كان في أوله إحدى الزوائد. These are the علامات متصلة. انتبه لكلمة إحدى الزوائد الأربع يجمعها قولك أنيت. He said be attentive of the kalima of the, be attentive of the expression إحدى الزوائد الأربع يجمعها قولك أنيت, that are all put together in your saying أنيت. When you say أنيت, you've gathered all the 4 letters. It says من الأنا, it is from أنا. And when we say الأنا أي التمهل, to slow down. إذن هذه الزوائد الأربع إذا كانت في كلمة فهي فعل مضارع. هذا كلام المؤلف ونمثل له بالآتي. He says this is the statement of the author, Imam Al-AJRUMIYYA. This is what he says, that if these letters begin a verb, then the verb is present tense. And we نمثل له بالآتي, we will give examples to that, we will exemplify that in the following, or with the following. The verb أقوم is مضارع, his accent is a مضارع. في أولها همزة. نقوم مضارع, and the verb نقوم is also مضارع. نعم, yes. ما الذي في أولها من الحروف الزوائد? What do we find among the additional letters in front of it? We find نون. يقوم مضارع. ما الذي في أولها؟ الياء. يقوم also begins with ياء. تقوم مضارع, والذي في أولها التاء. And تقوم also begins with ta. So we have hamza first, we have noon, we have yai, and then we have ta. Makes up the anaitu. But then let's see, if you have something like ta'iba, can you say that because it begins with ta, then, and so because it begins with ta, it is also present tense verb. Says في أولها تاء لكنها ليست بزائدة. Though it has the ta, but this ta is not additional, it's not an excess. Here أصلية, it is part of the root of the verb. والمؤلف يقول, and the author has already told us, إحدى الزوائد, one of the additional letters, excess letters. أما تائبة, but as for تائبة, فالتاء أصلية, the تاء in there is أصلية. لأنك تقول, because you say وزن تائبة, the meter of تائبة is what? فاعلة. And fa'ila is of the meters of past tense. It's a complete root. Okay. Yabisa أولها ياء لكنها أصلية. Yabisa also has yabisa, I need to dry up. Also has in its beginning ya'i. But then this ya'i is also asliya. It's part of the root, the radicals of the verb. والمؤلف يقول, and the author has already told us إحدى الزوائد الأربعة, so the ياء should be زائدة. If it is أصلية, no. أيسة هذه همزة أصلية. أيسة is actually مقلوب of يئسة. It's turned from يئسة, يئسة, to lose hope. والمؤلف يقول, and the muallif says زائدة, the alif, the hamza there should be zaida, and this hamza here, Aisa, is asliya. You take a verb like na'asa, la naqulu mudari, you won't say the verb na'asa is mudari. Na'asa yani to doze, yani min nu'as, to be sleepy. Naqul, we say that na'asa is not mudari, لأن النون asliya, because the noon in there is also part of the root. والمؤلف يقول, and the author is saying us, is telling us that إحدى الزوائد I don't know, I like this book's manhaj. I like it so much because if there is any misconception, anything that can give you a misconceptive idea, the author tries to wave that off. You bring what can confuse you and you wave it off. And he keeps repeating that which is necessary. That's why it looks like boring, but it is not. Knowledge should never be boring for anybody. Even if you should hear it 1,000 times, let it never be boring for you. Try to see why it is being repeated. And it is making this ring in your head that it keeps ringing in your head. Zawaid. So the zaida, the key point, zaid, being zaid, keeps ringing in your head, so that you don't confuse Aisa as being mudari, you don't confuse Na'asa as being mudari, you don't confuse Yabisa as being mudari, because you've heard that if the letters of present tense verb are anaitu, hamza, yai, nun, ta, so that you don't confuse it. So he's done very great work with this aspect of his book, the manhaj of his book. قد يقول قائل, a person, someone might say, ما تقولون في أكرم. Okay, what do you then say about أكرم? أكرم begins with Hamza. فعل ماض والهمزة زائدة is فعل ماضي and the Hamza is زائدة, alright. Okay, then it is مضارع. Why do you say ماضي? لأنها من كرمة, because the verb is actually كرمة and then we added Hamza to it and then it became أكرم. Why do we still say it is ماضي? Okay, نقول, we will say, we will tell you in response, إلا إذا كانت الزائدة للتعدية. مثل, if the Hamza that is added, or if the addition is for ta'diyah, is to make the verb, I think that is transitive. Yeah, I think that should be transitive verb. Yani a verb that requires an object. And look at verbs, there are transitive and intransitive verbs. One of them requires a verb to be complete, and that is what is called fi'lun muta'addin in Arabic language. And in English, we have the muta'addi and lazim. They are in two. We have fi'l muta'addi, and then we have fi'l lazim. And then fi'l muta'addi is the one that requires a verb to be complete. And fi'l lazim is the one that does not require a verb to be complete. Okay. So in English, you have the transitive and the intransitive verbs also. So if you say إلا إذا كانت الزائدة للتعدية, the hamza that is being added to keruma to make it akrama, it is to make it transitive verb. Okay, such that it will affect it will cause the verb keruma to need an object. If I say keruma Redwan, keruma Hamza, I mean he became Karim. Can be like that. He has become honorable, or he honors. But if I say Akrama Ridwanu, I need to bring somebody. Akrama Ridwanu Muhammada. So it calls for a maf'ulun bihi. That is what we call ta'adiyah. Okay. That is why this Hamza is here. It is not just a za'ida, but it is za'ida li ta'adiyah. So we are telling you that ihda az-zawaid, but then this zawaid should not be for ta'diyah. If it is for ta'diyah, then it is still not mudari'. So we have verbs like akrama, anjada, ay dakhala fi najdin. So anjada ay dakhala fi najdin, he has entered Najd. But anjada actually means it also means to salvage somebody, to rescue somebody. So you realize that rescuing, it requires an object when you are rescuing, something like that. وَمَا أَشْبَهَهَا, and verbs like it, وَمَا أَشْبَهَهَا, verbs like this, فَلَا تَدُلُّ عَلَى أَنَّهُ مُضَارِعٌ. This additional Hamza does not refer to it being, does not make it مضارع, because it is Hamza to ta'diyah. لأن هناك علامة للماضي داخلة عليه, because there is a past tense sign, a sign of a past tense that is affecting it. And I think we've already seen that. He says, وَهِيَ تَاءُ التَّأْنِيثِ. The ta'ut ta'anis, I think we've seen that in previous lessons. The ta'uskun that is attached to a past tense verb to make it feminine. فَنَقُولُ أَكْرَمَتْ. You get it? So since we can say akramat to add the ta'u to the verb with the hamza there, then it's past tense. Akramat hindun. Hindun, we say akramat hindun redwana. Hindun has honored Redwan. Aw ta'ul fa'ili, or the ta'u of the doer. Like akramtu, I honored somebody. هذا يمنع أن يكون فعلا مضارع. Because it accepts a sign of the past tense, it prevents it from being فعلا مضارعا, being a present tense verb. لكن كما قلت إن هذا الكتاب مختصر للمبتدئين. Said, as he has already told us, the book is made mukhtasar, summary, is small for beginners. والمبتدئ يعقل العلم شيئا فشيئا, and a beginner understands knowledge bit by bit. لو يأخذه في مرة واحدة غص. If you should take it all at once, he will choke. يقول العامة, the people, general, the people outside, everybody, they say مثلا حقيقيا, they say a very real proverb or real wise saying. Man kabbara lokmata, whoever makes his morsel of food you are eating and you pick it in heavy weight. Man kabbara lokma is a morsel. Gassa, a morsel or a bite of food. Whoever makes his portion big, you cut a big food to put in your mouth. Gassa, the person chokes. Waman saggara shabi'a, and whoever picks it bit by bit becomes satisfied. Okay. So what is telling us up to this point is that the present tense verb has some signs. Some are outside, like lam. If a verb accepts lam before it, then the verb is present tense verb. And also if the verb starts with hamza, nun, yai, or ta, it makes it also present tense verb. But he has clarified for us which nun is not part of the present, which yai is not, which tau is not, and has also clarified for us that if hamza is added to cause ta'adiyah, then it is not za'ida like we have here in this context. Okay, and he says ala kulli halin al-mudari'u ma kana fi awwalihi ihda az-zawa'id al-arba'ati. The present tense verb is that which has in front of it, or as a prefix, one of the four additional letters. يجمعها قولك عنيت. وعرفتم الأمثلة, and you've seen the examples. وله علامة منفصلة وهي لم. It has a sign that is separate from the verb itself, which is لم. And seen وسوف. So another part of the signs is also seen and سوف. فإذا وجدت كلمة مبتدئة, and so seen and سوف are introduced to a verb to put it into the future tense. Like I says, سأذهب, I will go, for the near future. And سوف أذهب, I will go, but for the far future. فإذا وجدت كلمة مبتدئة بلم. فإذا وجدت كلمة مبتدئة بلم فهي مضارع. If you should find a word that begins with lam, that is preceded by lam, then it is mudari. Mubtadi'atan bisin, if you find a word, present tense verb that has sin, if you should find a verb that has sin in front of it, فهي مضارع أيضا. مبتدئة بسوف فهي مضارع. If you should find it beginning with سوف, and it is also مضارع. He says وهناك علامات أخرى لم يذكرها المؤلف فلا نذكرها هنا اختصارا. There are some other signs which the author of AL-AJRUMIYYA did not mention, and we will also not mention here because we are making a simple work. We are doing اختصار, summarizing. قال وهو مرفوع أبدا. The author in AL-AJRUMIYYA has said that the present tense verb is marfu'un, always. It's always marfu'. And so from here we learn that the past tense verb is mabni. The present tense verb is also mabni. The past tense verb is mabni. The command, which is the imperative verb, is also mabni. But then the present tense verb is mu'rab. Okay, so it says انتبه حتى لا يتغير لسانك مرفوع أبدا. Be careful so that your tongue does not change. مرفوع أبدا كل مضارع مرفوع. That is what he means. Every مضارع is مرفوع. ولكن علامات الرفع إما لفظا وإما تقديرا. But the signs of رفع can be لفظا. It can be clearly apparent. You can see it. وإما تقديرا, or sometimes it is hidden. وإما بالحركة, sometimes it is by a حركة, يعني a vowel. وإما بالحرف, and at times you find it with a letter like wow. Sometimes you see it with dhamma, sometimes you see it with waw or alif. فالمضارع مرفوع أبدا وعلامات الرفع سبقت. And the signs of رفع, we have already studied them. So you might need to just refer what are the علامات الرفع. لأن هذا الكتاب مبني بعضه على بعض. Because this book, it is built, some part of it is built upon the other. It's not just this book. Nahu, you keep building. You don't keep repeating anywhere alamatul raf'i comes and you repeat them again. No. Alamatul raf'i has already been studied under raf'u. So you need to, if you've forgotten, you just refer. فيضرب, the verb يضرب آخره صحيح. It has a strong ending. ولم يتصل بآخره شيء فيرفع بالضمة الظاهرة. Because it has a strong ending, its marfu becomes الضمة الظاهرة. Okay. يخشى لم يتصل بآخره شيء. It doesn't have anything attached to its end. لكنه, but then it is معتل. It is having a weak ending. فيرفع بماذا? In that case, what do we make it مرفوع for? أي بضمة مقدرة. You still say فعل مضارع مرفوع وعلامة رفعه الضمة, but you say المقدرة. It is hidden on the alif. يخشى. يفعلان اتصل به ألف اثنين. يفعلان has ألف الاثنين, يعني before the noon. فلا يرفع بالضمة. So in that case, it's not مرفوع by ضمة. يرفع بثبوت النون. It becomes مرفوع by ثبوت النون. It's part of the أفعال الخمسة. والألف فاعل في يفعلان. And the alif is فاعل. And the alif is فاعل في in the verb يفعلان. والواو فاعل في يفعلون. If you have يفعلون, the واو is فاعل. والياء فاعل في يفعلين. في تفعلين عفوا. In the verb تفعلين, the yai is the fa'il. And in all these, the noon is the thubutu noon, the existence of the noon is the sign of the rafu. وقول المؤلف, the saying of the mu'allif, huwa marfu'un abadan, that it is fi'l mudari is always marfu'. ظاهر كلامه, what is apparent from his word, أنه حتى المبني مرفوع, that even those that are mabni among the fi'l mudari, they are also marfu'. لكن ليس بصحيح, but this is not right. fi'l mudari, it is not all of it that is mabni. يعني, meaning, ليس على المشهور عند النحويين. When we say mashhur, we mean the general view, and then we have shadh, those that are they are not the generally accepted ruling. Says فيستثنى من قولنا, when we say هو مرفوع أبدا, there are exceptions from it, and we take mas'alatani, 2 cases out of it. 2 cases are made exceptions. إذا اتصل به نون التوكيد, if the present tense verb is attached to نون التوكيد, أو نون النسوة, or نون النسوة, أي نون of feminine. فإذا اتصل به نون التوكيد صار مبنيا على الفتح. if the present tense verb comes into contact with نون التوكيد, it becomes مبني على الفتح. وإذا اتصل به نون النسوة, if it is attached to نون النسوة, صار مبنيا على السكون, becomes مبني على السكون. Examples: قال الله تعالى: والمطلقات يتربصن. والمطلقات يتربصن. يتربص is فعل مضارع. But why is it not dhamma here? يتربصن مضارع. لماذا لم يرفع? Why didn't they make it مرفوع? لأنه اتصلت به نون النسوة, because it has come into contact with the noun of feminine. The يتربصن, the noun at the end is نون النسوة to indicate that the verb has been attached to a feminine doer. So it becomes مبني على السكون لاتصاله بنون النسوة. ولا يحل لهن أن يكتمن. ولا يحل لهن أن يكتمن. يكتمن اتصلت به أيضا نون النسوة. يكتمن is also attached to نون النسوة. ولهذا لم ينصب بالفتحة. And so due to this, it was not made mansoob with fatha, even though it came after an, which we know to be adat al-nasb or min huruf al-nasb. So it would have been an yaktuma, but because the noun al-niswa came, it became an yaktumna. The verb now has to be built on sukun. So yaktumna, even though you say an harf or adat al-nasb, you say yaktumna fi'l mudari mabni ala sukun لاتصاله بنون النسوة, والنون نون النسوة مبني على الفتح. Okay. وإذا اتصلت به نون التوكيد يبنى على الفتح. If the present tense verb comes into contact with نون التوكيد, it becomes مبني على الفتح. سواء كانت نون التوكيد شديدة, whether it is نون التوكيد شديدة, I the one with shadda, أو خفيفة, I the one with sukun. نون التوكيد, we have one that comes with shadda and one that comes with sukun. شديدة يعني مشددة. When we say shadida, we mean mushaddada, that which has shadda. That is the same one we call الثقيلة. And خفيفة, we mean مخففة, I lightened. قال الله تعالى, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, ليسجنن وليكونن من الصاغرين. Okay. هذه الآية اجتمعت فيها نون التوكيد الخفيفة والشديدة. In this verse we have the نون التوكيد الخفيفة and الثقيلة أي الشديدة both in here. We have ليسجنن, عفوا, we have ليسجنن. So here we have نون التوكيد الثقيلة or نون التوكيد الشديدة. ليكونن خفيفة. And this ليكونن, that is what we can see here in the verse written as tanween. The tanween is actually نون الساكنة. When we define tanween, we say نون الساكنة اتصلت بآخر الاسم لفظا لا كتابة. We say لفظا لا كتابة. When we define tanween, we say that tanween is نون الساكنة, أي نون with سكون اتصلت بآخر الكلمة لم لفظا, we say it لا كتابة. So if I say رجلا, I don't write it with nun sukun, but I pronounce as if there is a nun sukun at the end. So when you see ليكونن أي الخط العثماني أو الخط القرآني, the Quranic writing, they bring tanween here to represent the nun sukun, which is nun al-tawqid al-khafifa. So ليكونن is a present tense verb attached to nun al-tawqid al-khafifa. And so ليكونن is مبني على الفتح. And then ليسجنن is also مبني على الفتح. ليسجنن is also مبني على الفتح. It says كلا لينبذن في الحطمة. أيوة. And now we have لينبذن, they will be thrown in. ينبذن. So we can see that the present tense verb has now ended with the, ay fatha, because of its connection with nun al-tawqid al-thaqila. لو قلت ليقومن زيد خفيفة، the ليقومن أي زيد will definitely get up. You are emphasizing it. So you've joined يقوم, you've joined يقوم to نون التوكيد الخفيفة والفعل مبني على الفتح, and so it becomes مبني على الفتح. We have meme taking fatha because of the نون التوكيد الخفيفة. ليضربن زيد أي ثقيلة, the نون التوكيد هي ثقيلة وهي مبنية على الفتح, and so we now have the verb becoming مبني على الفتح. إلا أن يعفون, نون نسوة, ولهذا يبنى الفعل على السكون because we have يعفون. إلا أن يعفون, I think it should end that way rather because of the nun niswa. Let's just cross-check this verse. Okay. Surah Al-Baqarah 2, 3. Okay, so we have it says وَإِن طَلَّقْتُمُوهُنَّ مِن قَبْلِ أَن تَمَسُّوهُنَّ وَقَدْ فَرَضْتُمْ لَهُنَّ فَرِيضَةً فَنِصْفُ مَا فَرَضْتُمْ إِلَّا أَن يَعْفُونَ أو يعفو الذي بيده عقدة النكاح. Okay, so we have the verb coming into contact with the verb of afwa, coming into contact with noon and niswa. The noon there, I accept that they pardon you or they forgive. So the noon at the end of ya'fun yani is noon and niswa. So noon and niswa they mabni ala al-fath. The noon and niswa is mabni ala al-fath. But the noon and niswa causes the verb to become mabni ala sukun, as we've already seen. Like yadhhabna, ya'kulna, yastarihna. When a verb comes into contact, when the present tense verb comes into contact with noon and niswa, it becomes mabni ala sukun. When it comes into contact with noon al-tawqid, it becomes mabni al-fath. Fa'ida. Let's read through the fa'ida quickly. Fa'ida, and it benefits, some side benefit. إذا بدأ المضارع بالياء يكون للغائب. If present tense, you find a present tense verb which starts with ya'i, it is for the third person. وفاعله مستتر جوازا تقديره هو, and the fa'il is hidden جوازا, it's permitted to hide the fa'il. يذهب, you can say يذهب رضوان, يذهب هو يعني. I'm say جوازا يعني it is permitted. وإذا بدأ الألف بدأ بالألف يكون للمتكلم. If you start a present tense verb with alif, يعني أذهب and آكل and all those that, it becomes for the first person. وفاعله ضمير مستتر وجوبا, and the fa'il is supposed to be hidden وجوبا. Like if I say آكل, can't say آكل رضوان, you get it. But if I say يذهب Muhammad, all right. But if I say آكل, I give it to myself, I cannot mention myself again. So it becomes, the fa'il is ضمير مستتر وجوبا, by force. تقديره, what shows us the fa'il is the ana in the آكل أذهب and all that. إذا بدأ بالتاء فهو للمخاطب. وفاعله, if the verb starts with a ta, it is for the second person. وفاعله مستتر وجوبا, and the fa'il is مستتر وجوبا. تقديره أنت. Okay, if I say I'm looking at you, let's say I'm speaking to you and you are Abdul Majid, you are Muhammad, you are whatever, and then I say tadhhabu. If I say tadhhabu, I can't mention you again. You are standing before me. So if I say tadhhabu Abdul Majid, it doesn't. So hiding the fa'il is wajib, wujuban. Okay. If any concept among these is not understood well, you can ask inshallah. وَقَدْ يَكُونُ لِلْغَائِبَ الْمُعَنَّثَ. When it begins with a ta, it can be for the third person feminine. فَيَكُونُ فَعِيلُهُ مُسْتَتِرًا جَوَازًا تَقْدِيرُهُ هِيَ. So you can have a present tense verb beginning with ta, and then it is for the third person. Yani تذهب هي. هي تذهب. In that case, the fa'il can be mentioned. أي تذهب سليمة إلى. تذهب عائشة إلى. So you can mention the fa'il. Yani, so that in that case we say jawazan. The fa'il is hidden jawazan. The fa'il of tadhhabu is hidden in tazhabu jawazan. But we can mention the fa'il anytime we want. هذه ما لم يتصل به ألف اثنين. This is when it is not attached to ألف الاثنين. Like تذهبا, تذهباني. The moment you say تذهباني, it comes for the second person. أو واو جماعة. When we say تذهبون, it becomes for the second person again. أنتم يعني. أو ياء مخاطبة فيكون بارزا. And when we speak to أي تذهبين, it becomes أنتِ. So when it is not attached to alif al-ithnain, waw jama'a, ya al-mukhataba, then the taw can start a present tense verb and it will be for here, third person, ay al-ghaiba. Idhan, he says fayakuna barizan, fayakunu barizan. When we attach alif ithnain, waw jama'a, ya al-mukhataba to a verb, the fa'il has become bariz, it becomes apparent. Because they are the fa'il. The alif is the fa'il, the waw is the fa'il, the ya is the fa'il. Okay. إذا بدأ بالنون مثاله. If it starts with a nun, مثاله, example of it is نذهب. يكون للمتكلمين. The verb now becomes for the first person plural. أو للمتكلم المعظم نفسه. It becomes for the للمتكلم المعظم نفسه. Or it is for the first person who is amplifying himself, honoring himself. Like the presidents, like the way Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaks in the Quran, نَحْنُ نَقُصُّ عَلَيْكَ أَحْسَنَ الْقَصَصِ. نَحْنُ in the Quran. It is for ta'zim, jam'u ta'zim, not really for plural. Okay. وَفَعِلُهُ ضَمِيرٌ مُسْتَطِرٌ وُجُوبًا. And in that case, to the fa'il is wujuban. We have to hide it. Like nahnu, if I say zahabna, I can say zahabna tulab. No, it doesn't. You can't mention the fa'il again. The fa'il should be hidden wujuban. Okay. إذن كل ما كان تقديره أنا أو أنت أو نحن فهو مستتر. Those verbs whose fa'il is ana, anta, nahnu, the fa'il is mustatir wujuban. The fa'il cannot be mentioned. وَمَا كَانَ تَقْدِيرُهُ هُوَ أَوْ هِيَ فَهُوَ مُسْتَتِرٌ جَوَازًا. And those whose fa'il is huwa and hiya, hidden in the verbs, like يَذْهَبُ هُوَ, تَذْهَبْ هِيَ تَذْهَبْ, those fa'ils are hidden on choice. They can be mentioned. Okay. This brings us to the end of this lesson too. Anything that is unclear, don't hesitate to ask. Inshallah, we will do our best to clarify. And also, you go through the as'ila part of the book, though we don't go through here, not to make the lesson too lengthy, so we don't go through here. Okay, so you can go through it, whatever that is not understandable there, inshallah, we will do our best to clarify. Okay. Allahumma allimna ma yanfa'una wanfa'na bima allamtana wazidna ilman. May Allah make our knowledge beneficial and grant us more beneficial knowledge till infinity. May Allah make our knowledge also benefit the ummah and benefit us. Okay. Allahumma allimna ma yanfa'una wanfa'na bima allamtana وزدنا علما يا رب العالمين يا رب موسى وهارون وإيسى ومحمد رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. أكرمنا بقوة الحفظ والفهم والمعرفة والحكمة. آمين. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام